about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. I am at the office here at the Falls, teaching those that came through the Bible. Here I am reading an American Bible Society publication showing 88% of Americans own a Bible. That's amazing to me. As you can see here, it's amazing to me that yet all these Bibles exist, yet when I teach it to people who never passed through a church door or avid churchgoers alike accept my teaching mostly as new information. Swearing, tattoos, piercings, purposely damaging of the body, alcohol loving, marijuana defending, refusing to stand for right when it is not easy, lying, pushing, throwing, rumors, adultery, sex outside of marriage, homosexuality, and that's just off the top of my head without being thorough. Romans 1:24 does not even cover it all. Wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness to their lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own body between themselves, who changed the truth of God into a lie and worshipped and served the Creator more than we serve the creation more, the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For this cause gave them up to vile affections, and even their women did change the natural use unto that which is against nature, and likewise also the men leaving the natural use of the women burned in lust one toward another, men with men working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense which is air, which is meat. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to reprobate mind, to those things that were not convenient, being filled with unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, fornication, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignancy, whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful, who, knowing the judgment of God, that they would commit such things that are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. 2 days ago, I cleaned up piles of people's garbage. They scattered on my church here. Today, about 10 boys were throwing mud in their plastic water bottles full of water. I told them how I cleaned up lots of garbage and how many hours it took. They looked as if they cared. They really seemed like they did care. But I guess the face can be deceived. I left to go to the lower falls to avoid. Now those are the people that understand this area, they would know what I'm talking about. But I left to go to the lower falls to avoid being hit by flying water bottles as I studied my Bible. They hit each other and yelled in pain, so I felt it unprofitable to me to be with them. Coming back as they were leaving, I saw the bottles in the water. I picked up and signaled to them. They all looked like not my problem. Finally, one came down after my pointing to the bottles and picked me up, and he picked them up. And he took them over to me and threw them past me into the fire pit that I built that you see in front of you. I said, no, I don't want the garbage here. This is my church. Take them out. Although I was asking so little of them to simply take out garbage they brought in, they, upon leaving, in their boldness against doing what is right that I asked them to do, they left the plastic refuse for me later that I found next to my bicycle. They have no respect for God or His creation, just as I've read. This generation is all the things that Romans 1 speaks at and more. I simply want to keep God's earth uncorrupted, to keep the clean things distinct and separate from the unclean, to preserve the sacred things. Although my attendance to Bible studies is my attendance to my Bible studies is decreasing as I study here, even if alone. I came across a current event very much related to my effort to make distinction between these things. It's about women in combat and how this generation does all to destroy every separation God set. I will conclude with news the preachers don't cover. Did your preacher cover it, or do you even have a preacher? But here at my church, I do cover these things. I see how they relate. If I have not communicated it how they relate, you should have been here to help me. I am warning in all ways I know how to do. Alone, I warn you of this evil day. Listen to this. It is an evil thing happening. Pentagon Surrender to Feminism by Patrick Buchanan. The Pentagon unveiled plans Tuesday to fully integrating women into frontline special combat roles, including the elite forces such as Army Rangers and Navy SEALs. So ran the lead on the CNN story. Why are we doing this? The officers leading troops into battle in Afghanistan and Iraq said that they needed women to enhance the fighting efficiency of their combat units and the survival rate of their soldiers. Did men from the 101st and 82nd Airbornes and the Marines and the SEALs and Delta Force petition the Joint Chiefs to put women alongside them in the future engagements to make them even more superior force? The answer is no. This decision to put women in combat represents a catapultation of the military's brass, and the Pentagon salutes the feminist ideology. This is not a decision at which soldiers arrive when they studied after-action reports, but the product that contradicts human nature, human experience, and human history, and declares as dogma that the women are just as good at soldiering as men. But if this were true, would it have taken mankind thousands of years from thermophile to discover it? In the history of civilization, men have fought the wars in civilized societies. Attacks on women have always been regarded as contemptible and cowardly. Sending women into combat on equal terms seems to violate common sense. When they reach maturity, men are bigger, stronger, more aggressive. They commit many times the number of violent crimes and outnumber women in prisons 10 to 1. Is it a coincidence that massacres discussed in our gun debate, from Texas Tower to the Long Island Railroad, from Columbine to Fort Hood, from Virginia Tech to Tucson, from Aurora to Newtown, was a work of a crazed male? Nothing matches Mortal Kombat, where soldiers fight and kill and are wounded, maimed, and die. Domestically, the closest approximations to combat training are combat training, ultimate fighting, boxing, and most physical of the team sports, the NFL. No, National Football League. Yet no women, people outside the United States, NFL's that. Yet no women compete against men in individual or team sports. Consider our own history. Would any U.S. Admiral say that in any of America's naval battles, Noble Bay, Malin Bay, Midway, and Coral Sea, we would have done better with women manning guns? In the Revolutionary and Civil Wars, World War I and World War II, Korea and Vietnam, women were not in combat. Was this discrimination of which we would be ashamed? Undeniably, some women might handle combat as well as men, but that is true. Some 13, 14, and 15-year-old boys and some 50, 60-year-old men. Yet we do not draft boys and men that age and send them into combat. It is discrimination based on age. An estimated 26,000 personnel of the armed forces were sexually assaulted in 2011. President Obama and the Congress are understandably outraged. But is not the practice of forcing young men and women together in close quarters a contributing factor here? Obama outraged, but forcing men and women together in close quarters. Among the primary reasons the Equal Rights Amendment went down to defeat 3 decades ago, and realization it could mean that women could be drafted equally with men, sent in equal numbers into combat. But what appalled the Reaganites and social in the age of Obama, this is another country from the one we grew up in. Put together by KiskiPlanter, KiskiPlanter, mid-July 2013, United States of America, Jackson Falls,